Hello there and welcome to a brand new lesson. This is How Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. In this lesson, we are looking at question number 7 of the WASSCE 2026 Mathematics Paper 2. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to calculate selling price, given cost price, and then percentage profit. You should be able to determine the number of units to sell to achieve a target profit. You should be able to calculate new profit when production cost changes, but selling price remains the same. And should be able to set up and solve profit equation with inequalities. On the left hand side here are answers to the trial exercises I gave in our previous lesson. That is on question 6. Without much ado, let's quickly look into it. So let's look at the question. It says a company produces handmade bags at 120 cedis and sells each. Take note, it says it sells each at 30% profit. Our first question is to find the selling price of a bag. Secondly, if the company wants to make a total profit of 2,700 cedis, how many bags must be sold? And then, suppose the production cost increases by 10%, but the selling price remains unchanged. You have to find the new profit per bag. And then we have to find the number of bags that must be sold to make a profit of at least 2,700 cedis. Now, for this particular question, here are some key concepts you should take note of. So the selling price is simply the cost price times 1 plus profit percent over 100. If you have the profit percent as we have over here and the cost price, you can always get your selling price. Now, if you want the profit per bag, then it is your selling price minus the cost price. Your total profit is simply the profit per bag times the number of bags you have sold. Apart from using these formulas, I always encourage my students to also use the proportional reasoning, because the cost price is always 100%. So if there's a profit of 30%, then you can simply say the selling price in terms of percentage is simply 130%. Use your if more, less device and you're on your way. That is understandable than trying to sometimes memorize the formulas. But if you're able to memorize the formulas, that is fine. You would always be on track. So let's solve the question. The company produces a handmade bag of 120. So that is going to be our cost price. That is the production price, the cost of production. So we use CP for that. Our cost price is what? 120. Now we have our profit percent. Profit percent is PP, and that is a 30%. What do we want? We have to find the selling price. So I'll first of all use this formula, which is selling price equals cost price times into bracket 1 plus profit percent over 100. Let's use that formula first. And then we now use the reasoning. So our A gives us selling price, which is our cost price, 120 times 1 plus 30%. So evaluating that, we have our selling price, which is then equal to the 120 times, if you have to evaluate 1 plus 30 over 100, it simply gives us the 130 over 100. Now, evaluating what we have here, we can simply say this trailing zeros do cancel out. We are then left with 12 times 13. So 12 times 13 simply gives us our selling price, which is equal to the 156 cedis. As simple as that. So this is the cost of one bag. This is using the formula. But if you wanted to use the proportional reasoning, you should always take note that your cost price is always 100%. So we can say if 100% is equal to 120 cedis, then the profit of 30%, that is how much is a profit. So 30% is going to be less, right? The value of that 30% is going to be less. And we say if less, more divide. So we have 30 over 100. The more dividing is the value of these you have here. This is 30 and then this is 100. So the more is 100. Then times a 120. If you are to evaluate this, we will then say the trailing zeros cancel out as well. And then we have 3 times 12. And 3 times 12 then gives us 36. Now this is going to be the profit that is going to be made on each bag. Hence, if you want selling price, then it is going to be the cost price plus the profit. And our cost price we have said is what? 120. The 120 plus the profit, which is 36. And that as well gives us 156. This is one way to use the reasoning. And there are more ways, right? The other one, you could say selling price is simply 130%. If 100 is 120, the 130 will be more. If more, let's divide, and then you also do your multiplication. So that answers the A part of the question. The second one says, if the company wants to make a total profit of 2,700, how many bags must be sold? They want to make a total profit, a total profit, a total profit of 2,700 from each bag. How much are they selling, or how much profit are they making on each bag? They are making a profit. You see, using the proportional reasoning, we solve directly the value of each profit, or the profit on each bag, and that is a 36 cedis. But the question says they want to make a total profit of this. You see, so how many of 36 do we need, or how many of the bags do we need to produce to give us a total profit of this? How do we go about that? So we can start by saying the profit of each bag is what? 30%. You see, and you can then say 30%, that is the profit. This implies that our profit is equal to 30%, which is 30 over 100 times the cost price. So assuming you had not solved it, which gives us a 120. And evaluating this now gives us what? A 36. So this is the profit on each bag. So to obtain a total profit of 2,700, then it simply implies that our equation is going to be 36 times the number of bags that needs to be sold. That is going to give us a 2,700. So let's just let the number of bags be a variable. And now we want to solve for this number. So using our inverse operations, we are going to divide this by 36. And we also divide this by 36. And with that, 36 divides 36. And we are left with our x. And we are left with our number of what? Bags. So the number of bags is going to be equal to 2,700 divided by 36. If you punch it on your calculator, that gives you a 70. You see. So we then say it implies that to make a total profit of 2,700, how many bags do we need to sell? 75 bags. So you say therefore 75 bags must be sold. That answers the B part of the question. Now let's move to the next question. We say suppose the production cost increases by 10%, but the selling price remains unchanged. You have to find the new profit per bag. If production cost is increasing by 10%, what does it necessarily mean? Let's take note that the initial production cost is what the 120 we have over here. So let's write that as cost of production initial, right? I'm just going to put I over here, and that is 120 cedis, and it's going to increase by 10%. So the new cost price is then going to be what? A 10% increase of 120. You see, so you can rewrite that as 120 into bracket 1 plus an increase of 10%. Evaluating that gives us a 120 times 1 times 10, 1 plus 10% simply is 1 plus 10 over 100. And when we add, we are going to get a 110%. So 110%. If we evaluate that, we are going to get 110% times 120, which when we cancel our trailing zeros, we have 12 times 11. And 12 times 11 gives us a 132. So this we have here is the new cost price. This is the new cost price. So you can say it implies that the new, so our new cost price is 132. Now we know the selling price, which we solved for. So our selling price is still 156 cedis. Then our new profit per bag is going to be what? This selling price, which remains unchanged, minus the new cost price. So we say new profit, that is per bag, is then going to be equal to the selling price, which is 156 minus 132. Evaluating that then gives us a 24 cedis. So it means for each and every bag, the new profit we are getting is what? A 24 cedis. Now with this new profit we are getting for every bag, how many of these bags must we sell in order to achieve or obtain a profit of 2,700? That is where II comes in. So II is asking that how many of these, at least how many bags should we sell to get that total profit? So what we are going to do is we write new profit, that is per bag, is equal to a 24 cedis. So if a bag is 24 cedis, this statement here is an inequality and not an equation. So it says number of bags that must be sold to make the profit at least 2,700. Let's let the number of bags be what? This, right? So it simply implies that the 24 times the number of bags should be at least simply means it should be greater than or equal to 2,700. As I said earlier on, this is not only an equation but an inequality as well. So now that you have this, you make the number of bags the subject. You can use any variable But then I am choosing to write it in full. That is the number of bags. So the number of bags is then greater than or equal to, we are dividing both sides by 24. So divided by 24. So that we have 2,700 divided by 24. So we say the number of bags becomes greater than or equal to 1,000. Greater than or equal to, when we simplify this, we have a 112.5. Now, since we want a number of bags to be sold, the number of bags is, we count it in counting numbers or whole numbers. So we wouldn't use the 112.5, but rather we'll say it implies that the least number of bags that need to be sold in order to obtain this is going to be, we round it up, which is 113. So we say the least number of bags that must be sold to make a profit of at least 2,700 is a 113. 113 bags. And that is just it for this question. So that ends our lesson on question number 7. And I do hope our objectives have been met. We would end here, but as usual, I'll leave with some exercises so you try on your own just to test your understanding. So here are 5 questions based on what we've done so far. You pause the video and attempt them before moving on. They are similar to what we have just solved. Let's have beyond numbers where we learn maths the easy way. If there's any issue of concern, you can always let me know at the comment section, and when notified, I'll address that for you. If this is your first time on this channel, I think it will be of help to you. You can choose to subscribe if you so do wish, so that anytime I release a video, you'll be notified as well. See you in our next lesson where we look at question 8 of the WASSCE 2026 core maths paper. Bye for now and do stay safe.